If you're thinking about spending a few months in Chiang Mai or even settling down here for the long term, one of the first things you'll want to understand is how much life actually costs. Chiang Mai is known for being one of the most affordable cities in Southeast Asia, but just how affordable it is depends a lot on the kind of lifestyle you choose. In this video, I'm breaking down the cost of living in Chiang Mai in 2025, using my own experience after living in the city for over 4 months as a reference. We'll go over housing, food, transport, and other day-to-day expenses to help you figure out how much you might spend each month. So let's get started. The price you'll pay for housing in Chiang Mai really depends on the type of apartment and the kind of structure you're looking for. If you go for a modern one-bedroom apartment in a newer building near Central Festival, you're probably looking at around $650 per month. These places usually come fully furnished with things like a washing machine, kitchen appliances, fast Wi-Fi, and sometimes even a pool or a co-working space. So if you're planning to stay a bit longer and want more comfort, this kind of setup tends to work really well. Now, if your goal is to save money, you can definitely find more basic options for less. In central areas, including some spots close to the old city, there are simple studios without modern facilities that usually go for around $300 per month. They're often older and minimally furnished, but they usually include the basics like free Wi-Fi or some kind of common space. As for how to rent, there are a few different ways. Some people use Airbnb, others find places through Facebook groups, and some just walk into buildings with signs outside. A lot of buildings even have in-house agents who can show you what's available. Just be sure to check if utilities are included, because not all rentals cover electricity or water in the monthly price, and that can make a difference when budgeting. Getting around Chiang Mai is pretty simple and doesn't cost much. If you decide to rent a motorbike for the month, you'll usually pay somewhere between $85 and $115 depending on the model. Filling up the tank costs around $2.70, and that's often enough to last you several days, especially if you're mostly sticking to short trips around the city. If riding isn't your thing, there are still plenty of easy ways to get around. Chiang Mai is super walkable, especially in the more central areas. And if you need a ride, you can use Grab, which is the local ride-hailing app. Short trips usually cost between $2.70 and $3.30, so it's a pretty affordable option. You'll also notice a lot of red trucks driving around. That's a kind of shared transport where the driver picks up and drops off different passengers along the way. You just let them know where you want to get off. The fare usually starts around $1, but it can vary depending on where you're going, so it's always smart to ask the price before hopping in. Tuk-tuks are another option, but they're usually more expensive. For the same distance, you'll often end up paying more than you would with a Grab, so they're not really ideal for everyday use. Food is definitely one of the highlights of living in Chiang Mai, not just because everything tastes great, but also because it's so affordable. If you usually eat out, your daily spending tends to be around $10, which brings your monthly food cost to something close to $300. Local dishes like khao soi or pad thai typically cost between $2 and $2.50, and even in food courts inside malls, prices are still very reasonable. If you prefer Western food, you'll find plenty of options too, but they do come at a higher price. Things like all-day breakfast, burgers, sushi, or pizza can start to push your budget up if you're eating them often. There are also those who like to cook at home, either to save money or to eat a bit healthier. Supermarkets like Big C offer pretty good prices on everyday groceries. A large pack of chicken breast costs around $2.50. A big bag of pasta is about $1.50. 2 liters of milk cost roughly $3, and a tray of 30 eggs goes for around $3.50. If you stick to simple ingredients and avoid imported items, you can expect to spend somewhere between $150 and $200 a month on groceries, which makes home cooking one of the most budget-friendly options in the city. Some apartments in Chiang Mai include a small gym in the building, especially the newer condos. They usually come with basic equipment like a few machines and some free weights, although the space is often limited. If that's enough for your routine, you might not need to spend anything extra. But if you prefer a proper gym with more equipment, better infrastructure, and maybe access to group classes, you'll find plenty of options around the city. A basic gym membership usually costs around $25 per month. You can also get daily passes at most of these gyms, which is useful if you want to try the place out before committing. Getting connected in Chiang Mai is pretty straightforward. Most apartments include Wi-Fi, and it's usually fast and stable enough for remote work, video calls, and streaming. Even so, it's a good idea to have a mobile data plan as a backup, whether it's for when the Wi-Fi isn't great or just to stay connected while you're out. The most common option is getting a SIM card right at the airport. Providers like AIS and TrueMove offer unlimited data for around $30 a month, and the whole setup is done by a staff member who speaks English. Another option, and the one I usually recommend, is using Aralo. They have several data plans for Thailand, and while it's not the cheapest option, it's definitely the most convenient. You can choose a plan and activate it before you even leave the plane, without having to swap SIM cards or visit any store. When you run out of data, you just top up through the app, which makes the whole process really simple. If you want to try it, just click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen, and don't forget to use the code TheNomadicJourney to get 10% off on your eSIM purchase. Another cost that many people forget to include is the visa. Most travelers can stay in Thailand for 60 to 90 days without applying for a visa in advance, depending on their nationality. But if you plan to stay longer than that, there are usually two main options, either doing a visa run or applying for a long-term visa. A visa run typically involves flying to Malaysia, spending a few days there, and then returning to Thailand to reset your stay. A round-trip flight usually costs around $150, and if you stay outside for 3 days, expect to spend another $50 to $70 on accommodation and food. So overall, the process can cost between $200 and $220 every 2 or 3 months. Just keep in mind that visa runs aren't guaranteed. Thailand has been tightening its immigration policies, especially for people who repeat this process multiple times. So a long-term visa is the better option for those who want to stay in Thailand for an extended period. One of the most common choices today is the Digital Nomad Visa, also known as the DTV. It allows you to stay in Thailand for up to 5 years, but you need to meet a few requirements: proof of remote work, a bank balance of at least 500,000 baht maintained for the past 6 months, proof of accommodation in Thailand, and a valid passport. This visa has become one of the most popular options because it has fewer requirements compared to others. If you're interested, I recommend reaching out to a visa agency or checking official government websites for more information. And if you're planning to apply for a long-term visa, you'll probably need travel insurance. One of the most popular options right now is Safety Wing, especially because you can buy it even after your trip has begun. Depending on your age, the price ranges from $56 to $196 for 4 weeks of coverage. It doesn't require any long-term contract, and you can cancel whenever you want. I'll also leave the link in the description in case you want to check it out. Chiang Mai isn't the kind of place where you'll be spending a lot on entertainment. Most of what people do here is either free or very cheap. You can visit temples around the city, walk through the night markets, grab a drink, or try some street food without spending much. That said, there are also a few popular day trips that are worth considering. One of the most famous is visiting an ethical elephant sanctuary, and another is taking a tour to the White Temple in Chiang Mai, which is the neighboring city. These experiences usually cost around $50 per person, depending on the tour and what's included. But this is usually something you do once when you first arrive. If you're living in the city long term, these activities don't become part of your regular monthly expenses, so they're more of a one-time cost than a recurring one. There are always a few extra expenses that come up beyond rent, food, and transportation. One of them is laundry, especially if your apartment doesn't have a washing machine or on-site facilities. Another common expense is occasionally stopping by 7-Eleven to grab a snack, a drink, or even some basic medicine. When you put it all together, these little weekly costs usually don't go over $15. So how much do you actually need to live in Chiang Mai? If you're staying in a one-bedroom modern apartment, eating out most of the time, renting a motorbike, going to the gym, using a good data plan, and including things like travel insurance and other regular expenses, your monthly cost will be between $1,200 and $1,500. But if you choose a simpler lifestyle, staying in a basic studio, cooking at home most of the time, walking or using the Grab only when needed, and skipping extras like gym, food delivery, and insurance, you can keep your monthly spending between $650 and $750. These are just approximate costs, and they can change depending on the time of year, availability, exchange rates, or your personal lifestyle. This breakdown is based on my experience after living in Chiang Mai for 4 months and filming this video in 2025. So if you're watching Watching this much later, some numbers might look different. Still, whether you choose a more comfortable setup or stick to a simpler routine, Chiang Mai remains one of the most affordable and comfortable cities in Southeast Asia for digital nomads, retirees, or anyone planning to stay long-term. If this breakdown helped you plan your budget or gave you a better idea of what life here looks like, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check all the links in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.